In a world filled with noise and uncertainty, tune into the voice of reason with Chaplain Ingrid Gentles every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us for uplifting conversations, inspiring stories, and biblical insights that will empower you to navigate life challenges with faith and confidence, where faith meets reality. Join the conversation on HGG Radio, live on YouTube, and social media. Don't miss it.
So on our last program, this is part 3 of Broken But Not Divorced. We have part 1 and part 2. Some of the past conversations that we had is what is the definition of the word broken? Also, we talked about unrealistic expectation equals unhappiness. We also talked about, as a believer, do you believe that all marriages are God approved? Well, we heard enough about that one. And ostracization and divorce. How are some that are divorced feel ostracized? We talked a little bit in length, and that also in part 2. So we're continuing on our conversation, divorced but not broken. And I had a scripture here just to those that are out there, those that are in the healing process, those that are not feeling healed yet because they have been divorced. And Proverbs 17:22 said, a joyful heart is a good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bone. And so the season that you are in right now, how can you still find joy and not walk around feeling broken, not walk around feeling ostracized? Man may ostracize you, but God still loves you from the day you were born, even up to now, despite whatever situation you might have to go through. So our first question here tonight that we're going to go through is, what part do you feel you had to play in the breakdown? And again, like I mentioned earlier, all these individuals that are on, Ed and Marion and Chaplain Ingrid, these are all divorced individuals that's living in this season and living for God. And you know what? They're just glad. They're not broken. They recognize and this is where they're at, and they're going to make the best of their situation. So, Ed, we're going to go to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I have to tell you that one of the things that I did was to have a conversation before our divorce.
Important.
Because I wanted to acknowledge some of the things that I have been responsible for and contributing to things that may have upset my wife. And I wanted to hear her feedback on some of the things that, I would like to say to her that I think we could have done better, And so we did have an amicable discussion. And a lot of it also surrounded our children. How will we parent those children? And I was big on co-parenting because I think it's important when you do have children, you're going to make the decision that you are going to make, that you set the ground rules out. I want my children to know that they've got 2 parents still alive. And it's up to the parents to work out how they're going to deal with the kids. So are we going to go for joint custody? Are we going to look around to see who is the best person to take care of the kids in certain circumstances? Are we going to share all information with respect to that? So that forced us, and so now I got to bring her into this, that forced us to really talk about where we were. And in so doing, we sort of acknowledged to ourselves where things were. And we came to the understanding that given everything, it would not make a lot of sense for us to continue for the sake of the children, because that was a lot of the advice that we were getting from people in the church, people within our family, people from outside. Oh, you can't do that. You guys are young. The kids are still young. You got to stay together. And it's just like, oh my gosh, no, I can't do it. We got to find another way. It's not that you were chasing somebody else outside, but the different pressures that were building up from inside, you knew that it was not going to be a good relationship for both of you, or productive for both of you, if you were to continue. So how do we do this with the least pain?
So I want to unpack something you said here earlier. You said when it comes to communication, you said could have been done better. How do you feel could have been done better, even for those listening?
You know, this is an interesting thing, because I spent a lot of time talking with people in my work as to how to communicate. And one of the things that we had to do in order for us to have a common understanding, we had to create a mechanism of communication. How do we communicate? And you know, it's funny, we do it with kids, but we don't do it with ourselves.
Okay.
With children, we say, hey, you know, time out, you know, what do you know? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever the case may be.
Right.
But with us, what we did not do, and of course later on I reflected on that and said, you know, I could have done better, because I know how to communicate. I just did not communicate well. And so it's just bringing in some safe words, things that will stop you before you descend into whatever things you're going to go into, because once you've said it, you can't take it back. Okay.
Right.
So develop some safe words. You know, when do you stop? Whether or not you want to do a timeout signal and then you stop the discussion, whether or not you want to say, all right, you know what? Why don't we take a break? Whatever is your safe word, use that to stop it yourselves when you find that you're going down. And that is a simple communication tool that you can use, so you can sort of rethread yourself and then decide if you want to continue, or if you just want to go for a break, walk away from each other, cool down.
Okay. Well, you know, thank you for those responses here. Would that have changed the decision? Communicated better,
I think it would have
or improved?
assisted us, yes, in terms of getting to some of the critical things that we had seen from different perspectives.
Right.
Right. So I have one perspective, she has another perspective, but we don't get to join. One of the things that we had trouble with was friends. Okay. So we grew up with some people, and, you know, they played a much more significant influence in our marriage than I was expecting. I figured, you know, like, look, it's okay, but it doesn't mean that you've got to do whatever your friend, you know, tells you to do.
Okay.
Or if that person's your friend, they should be saying to you, well, you know, maybe you shouldn't do this, or, you know, don't just agree with you because you say I'm your friend, you know. Be mindful and be truthful to what you want to say. So that was one of the things that we had a lot of difficulty in dealing with. And so, you know, it put me in a position where I was saying to myself, well, you're making a choice here. You're choosing your friend over your partner. Okay. How am I supposed to feel as your life partner if your friend has such a strong influence on you?
Okay.
And I can't find any way of getting to you to say, let's talk about this in a more amicable, friendly way, you
Right.
know. And that was one of the key drivers for me, to say, you know, I have a relationship with you, I got kids with you, I don't want to have your friends into my relationship too, you know. It's
Okay.
between you and I. And we
Good.
couldn't see eye to eye. And, you know, a couple of other things, but that was a critical one for me.
All right. Thank you for sharing their perspective. I could dive into that because I had a conversation with my nephew yesterday. Hopefully, I'll have enough time to touch that a little bit. So, thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure others out there can take away some pointers where that's concerned also. So, Ingrid, what about you? Before we get to Marion, what part do you feel you had to play in the breakdown? And you mentioned something in our conversation some time ago, which I found it was interesting. You said if you had built a relationship first with God, first, more with Him, more than with your husband, it would have made a huge difference. So just unpack that a little bit and pardon that also. Go ahead.
That is correct, because when you when we submit to God first, that's where the submission starts.
Right.
If you're not submitted to God first, there's no way you can submit to your spouse or
Mhm.
anyone else. So my relationship with the Lord will definitely determine how my relationship with other people flows, whether
Mm.
it's my spouse or partners or friendship or whatever the case may be. Submission is the key in this discussion. And if I had been submitted myself to the Lord, and that's a process.
Mhm.
We, as Ed mentioned, we're so fickle as human beings, we go back and forth.
That's right.
There
Yes.
needs to come a place in maturity of a Christian when that fickleness is not the way it used to be before.
Hmm.
It should be, when you're maturing, you should be getting stronger, mature, improving. Things that what you would have fell prey to in the past should be coming less, right? That's an indication that you are growing, right? And so the answer that I'm going to say to you is yes. If I was in a place that I am with the Lord now,
Mm.
it would be a totally different
Wow.
outcome or response, because my response to the situation was I contributed to the situation by also shutting down. So
Okay.
though I knew that communication was very important, the fact of the matter is when it comes to matters of the heart,
Hmm.
it is not as easy to always do what is right. And Ed mentioned, he was great with the kids in terms of communication and discussing, right? But when it came to his partner, his spouse, that's a different place of the heart. And it's not that easy, you know? And so, where I can say that I know for a fact, and I will own that, where I went wrong was once he started shutting down.
Shut down too.
I mean, I communicated for a while,
Hmm.
but then I was impatient at the time as well, as something that we talked about in the past. And so my patience ran out. And I no longer felt the need to want to communicate anymore because I just got tired of waiting on my husband to open up. And men, as you know, tend to go into their man cave. And
Hmm.
that can look different for the individual. Time frame, all that can look different, you know. And so I didn't have the wisdom to recognize that he's going into himself because he's trying to figure out how he's going to get through this or how he's going to deal with that.
Hmm.
So instead of setting the example, I accompanied his decision and I also went silent. So you've got
Hmm.
two people who are now silent,
Too silent person doesn't make a
and
good.
you're having the bare minimum conversation. Hi, yes, no, that, because you're still together and
Hmm.
there are children involved. What do you think is going to happen? There is no opportunity for the two people to reconnect because reconnection requires conversation.
Yes.
Even negative, I mean, sometimes even just having
Right.
showing anger sometimes shows that you still care. You
Mhm.
know,
Right.
I'm showing you anger, it means I still care. When
Yes.
I stop talking, I am just there is absolutely nothing else to say,
Yeah.
right? And I believe we got to that place. And when I think about the question that you're asking, that's a very difficult question for me to answer because now I have to acknowledge this again to myself.
Hmm.
That had I been in a better place with Christ as a believer, for those who are listening that are believers, had I been in a better place with Christ in terms of submitting to my God, um, I believe the outcome would have
Would have been
looked
different.
different. Yes,
Mm.
yes.
You mentioned maybe some missed this part that it's so important. You were saying hi, bye, pass the salt, pass the sugar,
Yeah.
let's go all the way up. And,
Yeah.
there's so many individuals that I've even spoken to that's living in that situation. You were married, but now you're living as roommates rather than
Mm.
rather than married couple.
Yeah.
But you said something interesting. Negative communication is still communication.
Yes.
Saying the things that don't sit right, don't feel right, but at least you're still getting it out there.
Right.
You're still speaking your heart because your well is drying up.
Yes.
And if this is what I need to say to have those conversations that might be painful or hurtful, then so be it. So we can move forward. Okay,
Yep.
so thank you for the response, Marion. How about you? What part do you feel you had to play in the breakdown?
Mine is a bit different because my husband walked away, and I didn't really, let's just say that I didn't have a part, but on what I've done, I've gone through a process of self-reflecting myself, and I've sit down and, like, there are things that I know that I would have done better in my relationship, but my relationship did not end in a way that it had a way for us to bring it back, because he walked away because he felt God had told him, I am not the wife that he should have married.
Mm,
So it had nothing to do with me. It was about him and whatever God told him, or which God, I don't know which God, but then again, as I've been going through the process of self-reflecting, I know for sure there are better things I would have done in my marriage, like
okay.
communication, and the way where I was like, oh, a Christian wife should do this or what, and decided, okay, I'm not going to disturb myself. I'm not going to do that. In everything, I was just praying, and we never had any communication. I just say, oh God, my husband is not talking to me. God, make my husband talk to me, So, so I reflected, and I'm like, oh, I wish I could have done better in this way. I would have communicated. I had so many expectations of him, unrealistic ones,
Okay.
without communicating what I'm expecting. So still I would have done better in that way. So I own up that in the relationship that I was in, and I would have been more aware and also more intentional, because I
Mhm.
expected the impossible. Because if you expect me to give you water and you're thirsty, I'm not an angel. I'm not able to know that you are thirsty. But if you're expecting me and disappointed in me, it's on you, because you'd never communicated that you needed water or something. So that is where I own up that I should have been more intentional and more communicating and clear.
So it's interesting. So God told him you weren't the right woman. So who spoke to him and told him that you were the right woman? And
Exactly.
Himself.
Exactly.
that just kept on playing on my mind, Marion. I'm sorry.
This is yeah.
It's so
Or he
confusing.
he has so many gods. The one who told him to marry me, the one who told him not to marry me. So
Okay. A few more, really important. I was not going to get to all of them, but and this is probably we'll end on this note, so to speak. One more after this is what 2 or 3 things that you have done to move forward in your now single life.
Mm. Well, I have to say that one of the things that I did was to have a really serious discussion with myself. I
Okay.
asked myself, what could I have done? What should I have done? And what do I want to do? So I wanted to go through the full spectrum so that I understood what happened. A marriage just does not break up. It breaks up because of reasons.
Yes.
What were those reasons? And how could I have addressed them to make it better? The other thing was, given where I am now, am I casting back and saying, that was a terrible mistake that I made. I need to go back and fix it.
Mhm.
Or, you know what? it's a time, and we talk about a time and a season. And this was the time. This is the new season. And what I have to do now is to put in place the foundation, first and foremost, for my children,
Right.
because they are going to ask me serious questions when we're either alone or together. How
Okay.
am I going to answer that?
Right.
They're going to ask about, was it them? They're going to ask, well, what happened between you and mom,
Mhm.
and so forth. So I had to think about the answers that I was going to give. And one of the things that I really wanted to make the point to my children was this: you could not be here, at least at that time, there was no technology for any other way.
Okay.
So you could not be here unless your mother and father agreed
Right.
that you would be here. And we
Okay.
did it out of
Right.
love
Right.
and care.
Hmm.
We wanted to have something, someone in our lives that
Mhm.
bound us together. And
Oh,
you
that's
are
good.
that. Okay. So we
Wow.
have to,
Man, wow,
Wow.
that's
Wow.
It's beautiful.
That's beautiful.
yeah.
so we,
Yeah.
we got that cleared up with the kids. The second thing I wanted them to understand that they must respect their mother as they respect me, because without her, there is no them.
Hmm.
Okay, so they have to have a relationship with their mother, and they have to have a relationship with their father. So it falls on me to find a way to make sure that they can relate to me and to their mother.
Yeah.
So if we got to get together from time to time with mom and me and them, then that's what we got to do, right? And I got to suck it up and just do it, because it's critical that we get that done. And
Okay.
finally, I said to them, look, if you need to spend time individually, so if you're, let's say we went for joint custody because we just want to make sure that they knew all along the
Yeah.
love that we have for them has not changed. So if they're
Right.
at my place and they need to call mom, then do that. Does mom need to come over? Okay, just let me know so I can take off. you know
You know,
so it's all good. So mom could either stay at the house and deal with them, or she
mhm.
could take them wherever, but I didn't
Mm.
have to be there. Which
You
was all,
know, I loved I loved how you phrased that. That just, I think that touched everyone's heart.
Yeah.
When you said what you said earlier on, that was just so beautiful. And we're women and we felt that.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I think any
Yes.
woman in their right mind would have responded to
Mhm.
what you just said.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Right.
beautiful. And
Thank you.
I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I
I
agree.
really felt that, Ed, you know what, my system just died on me, so I had to come back in. But that
We're
really
good.
touched me. I think that's such a good example for those that's out there that's listening, how to relay that message.
Mm-hmm.
It's a powerful way of softening the blow,
Yeah.
Yep.
softening the impact. This is where we're at, but how can I really soften it and still let them know
Mhm.
it's nothing to do with you, but we still love you the same way we did from the first time we laid eyes upon you.
Oh, tears are coming.
Yeah.
Tears are coming to my
Yeah,
eyes
I
right
know.
here.
That's so
Yeah,
sweet.
that was something. Yeah,
Mm.
that was something.
So
Yeah.
we only have literally 6 minutes left. Ingrid or Marion, probably don't have one. What two or three things you have done for yourself to move forward now that you're saying?
Um, what I've done is the process of being aware of myself, and I've gone through therapy. And
Okay.
the one thing that I've really, really done is forgive myself, my partner, and
Mm,
everything that has gone
Yep.
on. And I like what Ed said, that there were times when things were good. I acknowledge that the what that has not happened has not washed away what the good things were. And I
Mhm.
like the kids to still know their dad as the good person he was. And whatever the two of us have gone through is none of their business. Like, they are not part of it. They didn't create it. It's just
Okay.
between us. So
Okay.
for me to move on, I have forgiven myself, and I've decided to be a better person, work on myself and be a better
Mhm.
person. And
Mhm.
when I'm at a good place, then I can be in another relationship with a clear mind and being a better person when I'm healed. So those are the things I've done for myself.
Man, I'm hearing some really good suggestions. My last question, I'm coming to you too, Chaplain Ingrid, in a minute. But my last question would, what would you want to tell those that's out there how to avoid this pitfall of divorce or the death of a marriage, as we would say. But Ed, you gave some pretty good examples here about soften the blow, even where your children are concerned, communicating better. If we always know more now than we did back then, but if we had communicated better, it could have avoided something. And even Marion, what you said learning where you're at now is learn how to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're always walking under the umbrella of condemnation, which is not meant for you to do. Ingrid, you're the last individual on the line. Some things that you have done to move forward in your now single life. We have
I'm still choked up from.
yeah.
I really am. I'm still trying to process
Take it.
that. That was beautiful. I think Marianne actually said what I already had to say, where in order for me to have moved on in a good way, in a healthy way, I had to first learn to forgive my husband. I had to learn to forgive myself. And I had to, one of my safe haven for me was drawing closer to God.
Okay.
Amen.
That was my safe haven.
Yeah.
I needed to run to the Father. Dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High God. And I'm at a place now because forgiveness has been given. Took me a while to get there. It has been given.
Right.
And I have also forgiven myself for what I contributed to the breakdown of the marriage. We have two beautiful children. And I'm coming back to Ed's statement. I wish I was able to have made that statement that he made. It's quite humbling.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
It is. We got about a minute and a half left.
Yeah.
Wow. Ed, I think you shook us all up, man. You shook us all up. That's so powerful. Now, if we're feeling that, I can imagine what others will be feeling when they listen. Overall, we can be healed. Psalms 6 and verse 2 said, "Be gracious to me, O God." We want God to extend his compassion even in this area that we're in. He says, "For I'm languishing. Heal me, O Lord, for my bones are troubled." And getting back to the Creator, going back to God, because healing comes from him. So we're coming to a close, and I really appreciate you, Ed, for being on today. Appreciate the comments and everything. Also, Marian and Chaplain Ingrid, appreciate you folks for joining today. This was part 3 of Divorce But Not Broken. These are individuals that still believing that God's able to do what he needs to do in the life and the season that they're in right now. So we thank you for tuning in, and we will see you again.
In a world filled with noise and uncertainty, tune into the Voice of Reason with Chaplain Ingrid Gentles every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us for uplifting conversations, inspiring stories, and biblical insights that will empower you to navigate life challenges with faith and confidence, where faith meets reality. Join the conversation on HGG Radio, live on YouTube, and social media. Don't miss it.